Hello, Warlords. Welcome to SAGA Thursday, the show all about the SAGA Skirmish Miniatures game by Studio Tomahawk. Today is another monthly episode. I'm Rodge, but I'm joined by my good chum Monty here. How are you, my friend?
Good, Rodge. How about yourself?
Pretty good, all things considered. So
Yep.
I think most folks are watching these pretty timely as they come out here. So there's probably going to be a lot of talk about the current situation affecting our hobby and gaming lives. But
Right.
other than that, we do have a few topics to go through. A little bit of news and events. We got our hobby talk, our last games, physical games for a while. Probably we'll be talking about here. We got the paint contest is on and strong and a little different from the last couple ones, so we can talk about that. And then we're going to get into a little bit of Old Feud talk scenario, as I have some Old Feud helper cards up on the rodgerules website, so we can get into all of that. So news and events. Adepticon was canceled, my friend. Sad to hear. We were talking beforehand. They made the right call. I don't know about you, but I was getting kind of anxious.
Agree. Very.
I would have already canceled, but I was running something, so I have a special burden for the people who are going to make the trip. So kind of conflicted feelings about that, but for the best. I do have a couple events. So last time I decided to have a segment to talk about all the events of the world that are happening for SAGA. So that's very timely with the current situation, but I did get a couple. And so one of these is most likely canceled, but I did hear from Adrian in Ohio. So that's not too far from us. People say Ohio is Midwest. I've never made that drive, but we're on the other end of the Midwest. But he says there's a good SAGA community growing there, and there was an event scheduled for April 18th in Dayton, Ohio at Daycon. So I'm guessing that's probably been postponed, Adrian. But if you want to post below if there's some future details or maybe the events for 2021, that'd be much appreciated. Barry got a hold of me. He's talking about Beachhead 2021, which is a very large gaming convention in the UK. Have you heard of that one, Monty?
I have not. Interesting.
I knew there was, I used to play Warhammer, so I have Warhammer buds. So they were talking about that. So I thought it was like a big Warhammer tournament, but it's a big, just general gaming convention. And I think the Warhammer is kind of glubbed onto it. But Barry was saying they're trying to get a SAGA European Grand Melee going. So that's February 6th and 7th in 2021. So hopefully that will go off as planned, I would imagine. Hopefully we've got everything under control by then. So that'll just be in the tourney rolls here. It's going forward. The June 20th in Wausau here. Nothing to report on that. We'll keep on tabs as the events go down. So let's move on to the comments from last time. So we were, if you remember, seems like a long time ago, but we were talking about base size and basing. So we've got Ben French here. So he's a fan of 40 millimeter circles for his all-mounted Mongols for the win.
Nice.
Although he does think a min-maxer can take more advantage of the rectangle. But, maybe. I don't know. I did think of something about rectangles after we recorded that. And as of now, I do not remember. There was like one additional nuance with the rectangle. Maybe I'll remember before the end of this, but I'll make a note and I'll post it below if I do remember the one last thing about rectangles that we wanted to mention. So I do have some cavalry on the way. So I picked up some 40 millimeter bases in anticipation, the rounds. So for the Eastern Heathen expansion, the pagan peoples, I'm thinking the Hearthguard are mounted. And if you want to do Eastern Princes, the Hearthguard are the fulcrum of that war band. So I'm going to need some mounted guys. So
yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I think I would like maybe 35 or 36 millimeter rounds, but at that point, nobody makes those plastic sizes, really. I mean, the next one down is 32 for GWs.
Okay.
So I just have to use like MDF, and then getting the magnets in there, it's kind of a hassle. What are you? Are you an MDF baser, or where do you?
So for so I use kind of what's available. I've kind of gotten away mostly from the plastic and use the MDF. I like the little extra height. And for my ponies, my mounted right now, my favorite, I still might come around to the 40 or 37 millimeter circle, but my favorite is there is a German company, Stronghold Terrain, and they do these wonderful pillbox shapes, just very nice. And they're metal, and they give you the magnet and a little plastic sheet to hold the magnet in when you super glue it, and they're super slick. They really stick. So those are my favorite right now.
Cool. So the round that the infantry are on, do you get those from him as well? So they have a magnet in them?
Yep.
Okay, that was going
They sell you.
Be my question.
It's a little bit like when I get my big hairy war bands, I might, go back to my MDF rounds just for price. But especially for plastics, like I have a thing where just because I come from always painting metals, then when I do plastics, they feel so light. If I give them a little all metal base using the Stronghold Terrain bases, they give them just a tiny bit more heft. So I like doing that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. I'll have to check that out then, because I always steered away from the MDF because of the extra hassle of how do you magnetize them? You're drilling holes and everything else. Okay, Hercus Monty piped up. He said he didn't have any strong feelings about basing. As long as it's consistent within the warband, it's fine. Only savages mix round and oval and square bases within a warband, though. So... I would agree, yeah. But okay, I think that's good enough. Oh, I do have one last one. So scattered dice. It's not the size of the base that matters, Rodge. It's how you abuse it. So that's either Hamza or Freddie. I believe they share that account. I think it's Hamza, based off my previous
Hamza
interactions. But I wouldn't rule out Freddie. So I knew someone would say that, and I'm proud that it was one of those guys. So, okay, I think that's good enough. So let's move on to hobby. You have a hobby pick to share, so I have it up here. And why don't you elaborate on this pick, and then maybe say how you've adapted at home.
Sure.
With everything going on.
Yeah. Excellent. I mean, wow, right? It's a strange time. So my hobby pick, I hollowed out my Great Kingdoms when I sold my Welsh. The Welsh were like the heart of this war band. They were my levy, and they were my warriors.
Oh, yeah.
So once I sold my Welsh, they went on the shelf, and I've been down the rabbit hole painting my other world. But I had last November been hunting around, and my friends kind of gave me a little bit of grief about whether the Welsh really were appropriate, to be paired up with us. They were like, these guys don't have shoes, they don't have pants, but they have firearms. What kind of tech tree is that, right? So I mean, I listened to them. I ignored them, but I did listen to them. So I rooted around, and go ahead.
I was in that camp, but I would never comment about everybody's model. Do what you want, but I had my doubts personally.
Exactly.
But,
well, somewhere on a distant planet, Captain Kirk had given them their firearms or something. But anyways, in this version, in V2 of my Great Kingdoms Warband, I'd hunted around, and I saw that the Perrys had a very nice box I think it's called Mercenaries 1450 through 1500, and they look better with like the other elements of this warband, meaning like the other guys that I had left were like knights, and they look like they're at least in the same era. So I looked at it and I thought, yeah, this works, and the firearms look pretty primitive and spotty, and so I put them together. I based them up, I primed them, and they've been sitting on the shelf since like November. And once the full shutdown kicked in, Adepticon was off. I got to be honest, my Adepticon warband for Age of Viking was going to be my all Welsh with footsore models, and the wind went out of my sails. I thought, well, you know what? I mean, I'm not painting for a thing. These guys may not come out for months, so why not just like look around? Why don't we shake things up? That was how I kept myself engaged, Rodge. Was I took what should have been my next thing, I put it in the back of the queue, and I pulled these guys off the shelf. And, once you kind of get on a roll, the painting scheme is repeated. It's, black and yellow is in a base, mid-tone, and a highlight. The light box washes it out pretty badly here, unfortunately. But, overall, it does, it's a nice kind of poppy theme. It's good at 3 feet and more. And I knocked them out pretty quickly. So that was my big thing was 12 levy crossbowmen, 12 levy firearms, and 10 Hearthguard type figures. So and now I can, when the day comes, I can run Great Kingdoms again, get them back off the shelf.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, these turned out great. They fit perfectly, I think, with the Pegasus, the bear guys that you already had. Do you have a Warlord for these guys? Do you still need to do one?
Yeah, the Warlord, I know it's kind of tricky here, right? The Warlord's the bald guy, and I gave him the Pegasus with the, kind of like the black face, black head. Okay. So yeah, that's him. And the Wizard, I have some other stuff. Like this is just the stuff that matches really nicely, but there's always stuff floating around that you can do. I've got a Warlord on a horse, but it's not nearly as spectacular as like, flying, so.
Okay, cool. Good progress. So... are you painting more than you did previously? About the same? I mean, are you working from home and stuff?
So I am a teleworker going back from years ago. So for me, it's more the same. But boy, I got to be honest. I mean, I've been this way for a long time. Like one of my things I loved a very long time ago, I liked, writing fiction. I like writing short stories. But like once I got out of school and I didn't have an audience, I didn't have a place to really share, and all those other things that just went by the wayside. So a little bit of my wind has like kind of come and gone out of my painting sales for a while there. I was like, I'm not getting that gaming part of that I love so much. I'm not getting that itch scratched. So I fired up some PC gaming, but my PC is old and I don't really want to go down the console rabbit hole. So I did that for a week, and I'm like, okay, that's enough. Let's get back to painting. So I would say it's about the same, but you do have to find a way to still try to do the thing in some form or format that you love, and I'm still trying to figure that out for gaming.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm pretty similar actually. So I'll bring my pickup here, as we can see now, but okay. So. You can kind of slightly see in the background some of the previous Eastern Heathens I was working on. So after last episode, I was still plugging away on those warriors for the most part. But it ended up kind of just petering out a little bit. I was doing less and less each day as, just anxiety with everything, and then schedule changes. So I'm really a creature of habit when it comes to hobby, and so having everything flipped upside down I think really messed me up. And so I did end up going to video games for a while as well. So I was playing, we got a Switch, so I was playing Bloodstained, which is like a Castlevania Symphony of the Night clone for the modern time. So that was fun. But since Adepticon was canceled, my plan was to sell the Men of Wessex after Adepticon, because they were my fallback models. So we made the transaction early, and part of it was these Foundry Berserkers here. So
nice.
these are really fun models, really cool.
They're beautiful.
The detail is, they got little bangles and stuff, but they paint up super quick. Now, I actually painted the one guy, this front and center guy. So the reason I painted this guy was the guys behind him are actually, those weren't painted by me. Those were models I bought off eBay a couple of years ago. And they're actually, I was curious if I posted them. They came from Minneapolis, the Twin Cities. So I don't,
Wow.
do those look familiar at all to anybody that you know?
No, I have not. I love these foundry models, and I really, wow. And I realize I'm looking at the photo. I mean, they all look like they're sourced to you, Joe. So good job. Yeah, nicely done.
Yeah. So yeah, they were just cool figs I saw. They were pretty cheap. I think there were 4 of them for $40, and I bought a couple different lots, and then I had 8, and then from, I don't know why, but I just sold one on eBay as like a test model. I think I sold them for like $30, and then I was like, that was kind of an idea. I could sell them off one by one, but I ended up, I never sold any other ones, just that one. So I only had 7 of these. So I needed to make them a legal unit for Zach, the guy who I was selling everything to. So I had to paint this one extra guy and kind of try to match the scheme that was done in place. And it was a little tricky. So I believe they were painted with Vallejo originally, based off some of the colors. Like the steel has like a bluish tint to it, which I know Vallejo steel has a bluish tint to it. So that's what led me to believe. So I was actually having trouble kind of matching the skin, because that's the predominant thing there. And like, I just couldn't get it really quite as peachy as the original models. But I tried pink washes, like orange washes, and whatever that secret sauce to that peach color I couldn't really unlock. But you look at the photo,
I can't even see it.
He kind of blends in. But when I'm holding him right in front of my face as a anal retentive perfectionist, that annoyed me. I couldn't perfectly match it, but he fits with them perfectly. And so I've already given those to Zach and concluded our arrangement. So the men of Wessex are outside of the house here. So I do got to finish those heathens. So right now I'm kind of played through the video game. I've done everything. I went through it once, and then you figure out what you were supposed to do with all the abilities and stuff that you had. So I had to play through it again, just to make sure I got everything on a harder level. So now that's finally done, and I really don't want to play it anymore. So right now I'm kind of doing like a clean out, kind of recalibrating, trying to get set up. So for me, I am working from home. My wife is working from home, but we've also got little Dano with us at home. So
fun times.
Yeah, so he's 3.5. Doesn't really respond to commands that well. So he requires active supervision. So me and my wife are splitting, from like noon to 3, I'm watching him in the middle of the day. So we're kind of doing split shifts. And the side effect is to get our hours in, I'm logging on much earlier. So that's basically cutting into all my hobby time. So like, I really have probably 20 to 30 minutes of hobby time available per day. So
pretty slim.
Yeah. So we just gone through a week of that, and then, just kind of working through everything. That was too little to, it's hard to get motivated to even like do anything. So I just kept firing up the video game, but recording this on the weekend now. So I'm through that. So I'm hopeful that I can try to get it back on track, because I do want to finish the Warriors I already started. And then I'm thinking like you, like I might jump around to some other things. I might try to do some one-off models here, since you can see a lot more progress on those. If I tried to paint up another unit of 8 warriors at like a half hour a day, it'd probably be 2 or 3 months before like they were done at my pace. So if I just do a single model of some kind, I think that would probably at least keep me going, doing something at least.
That's it. I think that's a good plan, Rodge.
Yeah, and then once you are motivated, you always end up finding that you do have more time. You can stay up later or do whatever. So now I'm just trying to get back on track, find a new habit, like a new schedule for the foreseeable future here. But
adapt.
Yeah, we must adapt, Monty. So,
exactly. Oh, if I can pitch in one thing, that did help me seriously, because painting, little PC gaming, but just not really like coming at it hard, right? So I tried something different, and I'm really happy with how it went. So with Adepticon being canceled, some of the artists that were going to be there, they offered online Zoom classes to like take the sessions that were going to be in Chicago. I mean, they didn't happen, so like it's going to be done remotely. So I signed up for Aaron Lovejoy of Miniature Monthly. He had 3 or 4 classes. And I've never done this before, so I just picked one, and I picked his airbrush class. And like, you're someone who already uses your airbrush a lot. I mean, certainly more than I do, right? And I have my airbrush. I've progressed from where I want to throw it in the bin to like I can do armor with it and terrain sometimes, but not a lot after that, right? I struggle a little bit. And so I signed up for class, did 4 hours of like instructor-led, great visuals, great back and forth Q&A, and doing some stuff myself as I was in the class. And look, it's got to be the next best thing to actually being able to sit down face to face someone. I got a lot of notes, I got a lot of energy, and coming out of that, I started thinking about like what war band could I really see what I can get mixing, Saga historicals, 28 millimeter, and an airbrush. And I have some ideas. I don't have the warband yet, but it helped put some wind back in my sails. I felt good about, my hobby day again and painting. So that helped me.
Cool. Wow, yeah, you have to let me know what warband you end up choosing. So that's cool. I like that idea. One thing I could say, so early on at Adepticon days, I did take some seminars, and my advice would be just to do one. So that's what you did. So you can come away from one seminar. You have like one action plan, because if you do 2 or 3 or 4, where do you start? What do you do? You're going to lose whatever. And
good point.
You're paying a pretty penny for them nowadays. It could be $40, $50 for some of them. So that's cool. One thing doing it at home that's kind of cool. So you could immediately put into practice what you assuming you have all the equipment and everything else. I think that's awesome. We're at the con, you do it like Friday at 6 p.m. or whatever. You still got 2 or 3 days. You're going to go home. You're going to recharge, rewind. So it could be like another week or 10 days before you even like put into practice whatever you learned. So, I think just doing that online, I think there could be some benefit just being able to pop in. And so did you say you were like actually like airbrushing while he was going, or maybe with the brushes? Like kind of. So that's awesome with like your equipment, your setup, your stuff, if you had videos so he could see what you were doing, or no?
So you could share, but I mean, because we had probably 29 people from not just the U.S. this thing, we were kind of like watching him, and he's like, okay, now I would like, Zenithal, work from here. But he had a lot of interesting twists and stuff that really increased my confidence just listening to him. Like, he's like, if you're airbrushing, you are going to eventually jam up. Like, that's not a failure to, like, understand your brush. And he's like, and then he also had like another juicy bit about like run at 40 PSA. And I'm like, holy hell. But it's about practice. It's about control. And he's like, you really need to drill your control down. You should like manually. And so I did that. Like, as he's talking, I mean, right away, I do 40 PSA, I pull it back like, boosh. I'm like, okay, that's not control. Got to get tight. So anyways, it gave me, like you said, it's the immediacy. I had notes. I got out of the session. I right away ordered inks because he's a big one for airbrushing inks. And I've heard that from Hagen. Hagen was like, you've got to try airbrushing white ink as like your final pop. And I was like, and so finally, anyways, it gave me some energy, gave me some juice. And while I want to focus on like actually getting good or better with my airbrush, I do want to, like, down the line, grab another one of these classes because it really helps. U2's great, but I like the lead study. I was taking copious notes, and he gave PDFs, and just watching someone live do it, we could ask questions. Very impressed. Anyways,
that's awesome. Cool. Yeah, you're the second person that's mentioned that white ink recently. So
yeah, news to me.
Is there a manufacturer that makes that?
So I can actually show this back. So he was very big on Liquitex, in particular Liquitex titanium white, and he does the zenithal, and then the zenithal, he'll come in with the titanium white as the last, like, that's the bright spot. That's the brightest, like, little topper on it.
Because I was thinking on my Eastern Heathens, I have the base coat and then the shades, which I do with the airbrush, but they're nice and bright, but they are kind of flat, but it is kind of realistic, but it is well saturated color, so I'm fine with them as they are. But I was thinking if I was going to take it to the next level, I could do that, airbrush the shade and then use like a white ink. So that kind of, when I heard that the first time a couple weeks ago, it got me thinking, and I could use that, because I got guys in green, guys in blue, guys in pink, guys in red, but I could still use the same airbrush color to highlight all of them, theoretically. That's what I'm thinking there.
Yep.
Do you think that sounds right based off what you heard?
Yeah, and apologies, in no way. Like, I not too long ago, I was almost done with that. I had a very bad session, which he walked through why your non-airbrush paints are such a pain in the ass. Anyway, so like, he was saying, like, some colors will play nice with, like, you can work up from a black, but others won't. And so he was like, this is what your zenith is all about, is that, like, there's some colors that just can't sit right on top of a black when you're airbrushing, yellow and red being two of them. So, like, he said, like, you might want to come in and you want to do a red highlight, you can pop a white, very controlled, and then you put the red on the white and it'll sizzle better.
So yeah, I did that technique with the Eastern Romans. So cool.
Nice.
So the warband, I was thinking about experimenting further on with those ideas would be a Muslim warband. So I think that'd probably be a good warband for you, thinking about just the flowing, long robes. That's airbrush material, my friend.
Nice. Well, I might be hitting you up because I have notes, but you've been down this road.
Okay. Yeah, we might figure something out. I do have some Arabics in the stash here somewhere, so no need to get them. But well, that's been a fruitful hobby discussion. It's got my mojo flowing a little bit already, which is good. Do you want to share your game pick here?
Sure. So my game pick, let me just click forward. I'm reaching back to pre stay in place days, and it was a fun game against my friend Jason Myers and his beautiful Viking army. First of all, they're just a treat to sit across and look at. They're painted with Foundry, by the way. They look spectacular, and he's also did a black and white theme for his shields, and then to kind of click it up just a touch more, he did a nice blood spatter that you might see in some of these pics. Jason is one of those players who Saga's maybe his, second or third favorite game. Very big in other systems, but maybe play 6 times a year. And he has Vikings, so hey, why not? I brought out a 40 warrior and 4 berserker Viking build to face his Vikings. He had a much more sensible build with Hearthguard, warrior, and berserkers. And one of the I guess defining moments of the game where you just have to chuckle is I saw him move up his 8-pack of Hearthguard, which is berserker bait, right? And so I measured very carefully. They were within range for a double move, and I rolled a few uncommons. So I set up Thor, I set up Uller, and I set up Valhalla with a rare, and double moved in on a charge. And you're kind of doing the math. So I thought to myself, okay, I got 16 dice. Let's get it to 24. 24 re-rolls, 6s or double hits. That should be enough to nuke them right off the table, right? I'm kind of like trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, that should be enough. Well, as it turns out, no, it was not. So, I did move in. I did move on a double moves, and I didn't have enough uncommons to lift my fatigue. So he spent my fatigue to get to a 6. But I'm thinking, so what? I'm throwing 24 dice, and I'm going to re-roll misses, and 6s are double hits, right?
You just played into my hands, Myers.
Right? I pick up 24 dice. I barely can hold. And at first I was horrified. I'm like, oh, are you serious? 1-6.
Hey,
like, what happened there?
Hey, Bud, you kind of broke up there a little bit.
Sorry.
You lost me at a big handful of dice. So they came out. What did you? How many 6s were there?
I had the rerolls? One hit on 24. One hit on 24. So I was a little crestfallen, but I'm like, okay, that's what the rerolls are about. So I pick up 23 dice, and I throw them out. And I have one more hit. So I've rolled 47 dice and gotten 2 6s on them. And I'm just stunned.
Oh my gosh.
Have I still got you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was stunned. I was stunned and disappointed. I had to just laugh. That's all you could do is laugh. And so I'm like, okay, 2 hits, double hits on 6s, so it's 4 hits. So I'm like, well, at least maybe it'll be an even trade. So Myers picks up his, 4 saves, and four dice, and he throws 3 saves up 4. And I'm wiped out. He's lost 1 figure, and gosh, that Hearthguard unit came and just beat me to the ground. I needed to nuke it, and it just all went south from there.
Oh boy, that's amazing. So, yeah, that's gonna happen.
It will. It's crazy, but it did happen.
So, yeah, with my berserkers, so people walking at home, don't try to do the calculation. Just use all. I always use all the abilities because. Yeah. You just never know what the dice are going to come up at. So, you think, well, yeah, I don't need, so in your case, it sounded like you didn't have the extra dice to pull it off. So that combo actually takes 3 uncommons to pull off. So to slough the fatigue, to reroll, and get the 6s. And you really need all 3. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in my game further, but no matter how many few guys or what the odds are, like I always just use all the abilities, because if that berserker unit doesn't kill whatever it's going up against, like it's all lie. Like you just need to be able to kill them. So, yeah, that's interesting. So you knew that you would probably be hitting on 6s, but you decided to go away.
I figured he was going to raise this. That's the right call.
Yeah, I probably, as far as, so it was your decision. You knew there was going to be 6s, but you decided that you were going to go in anyway. So I can do 5s with a reroll, but unless it's like the Warlord or something, especially for the Berserker sacrifice, I probably would not have made that move myself. I could do 5s, but I can't do 6s. With those rerolls, it's just too risky. But you never know. You could have rolled 5 6s the first time, and then 4 more, and that's 20 hits. And then you wipe them out regardless. So,
but But Raj, you're exactly right. I mean, it's good to like, because I don't play Vikings very often, so it's good to like, kind of like, oh, well, don't do it that way. But you're right on the trail, right? If I'm going to do Valhalla and I'm going to try to trade 1 point for 2, then go all in. I should simply
Yes.
have taken, I should have. I only took 2. I should have gone at least 3 because you know what? Maybe the 6s were sitting on that, and if nothing else, they're re-rolled. So that's more dice. So always just go all in.
So
all in.
you only sacrificed 2?
2 with a rare, so that gave me 8. So I went from 16 dice to 24.
Yeah, you should have went to 28. Oops. Always do 3, Monty. Come on.
Should have.
Come on.
Should have.
Anybody listening? That's why you didn't do it. Because
I'm a Viking noob.
Yeah, that you like invoking the spirits and such, you dishonored them, you drew them off. You would have gotten a buttload of 6s if you just sacrificed the third guy. I'm sure of it.
That's it. I ruined Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
I will say just one other interesting thing about the game is that if you ask Jason how the game went, he won't hardly mention my catastrophic failure at the gate, to take out his 8-pack. He will mention that like he went after my warlord, which he lent me. I somehow showed up for a game without my warlord, so he lent me the witch, right? Mm-hmm. And so the witch was working for me, and he hit her every turn from turn 2 through turn 5 or 6, and I closed ranks every time, and I rolled those saves like a beast. Mm-hmm. And so every turn he'd be just shaking his head. I'm like, come on, bring it. And then I'd shake off the fatigue as the best I could and deal with those units. But yeah, he pulled out the win. He got her on turn 5 or 6, and I had no Saga dice. I couldn't get his warlord, and I was just done. So good game.
Oh, cool. Did you just do Clash of Warlords?
Yeah, just Clash of Warlords. Kind of keep it kind of simple because, that was what we had up for the day.
Okay, cool. Good times. Well, I also got a game in, so I got in 3 games before the curfew call. I'm just going to talk about this one game against Zach here. So I've got my photo up. So I was running Vikings, and he was playing the Pagan Ruse. So usually he plays Vikings or Yam's Vikings. So he's exploring his Viking options. And
nice.
This was a good game. We played Claiming Territory. So this scenario, have you done this one? This is the one where you put down objective markers, I think 2 per. So these are the bottle caps, the beer bottle caps on the photo here. And then each turn you calculate conquest points, and then that's basically how you determine who wins or loses, is purely those conquest points. So you have to be within short, you have to be within very short, and there has to be no enemy within short. And then I calculate on my turn, you calculate on your turn. So we're both kind of racking up points here. And then you're capped. I think it starts the second turn or the first turn. Maybe you can get 1 point per objective on the first turn, 2 points per on the second, 3 per on the third, on the fourth.
Okay.
So does that ring a bell? Have you played this one?
I have not played that. No, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it actually is fun. So I'd recommend it. So it's claiming territory, and then if you're just glancing at the photo, it doesn't look like an objective mission because you put the objectives down, and so there's no objectives on the map here, so it doesn't look like one, but it is one. And so we played this because I'm trying to play every Book of Battle scenario. So I've gone through them all except the bridge crossing with the current 2nd edition. So that's the last one I need to do out of the 10. So after playing this Claiming Territory, there's another one that I'm going to find the name here. I like this one better than that one. Let me see if I can find it, what it's called. That one is kind of confusing, the way that that one is Guard the Loot. So on that one, you put down 3 objectives. So, and then they have different victory points. One is an 8 for you, a 2 for them, or vice versa, or 6 or 3. So, there's all kinds of nuance and where you put them and trying to psych out your opponent, but it just ends up being kind of confusing. And in Saga, you don't really have a lot of units anyways to like go trampsing after objectives. So I like this one a little better after playing it. It's a little more straightforward. And you can kind of take your points as you build them up. So that one you calculate at the end, I think. So this one encourages you to get out there and just sit down and come on, you're gonna have to shift me off this if you want to win. So this was a good game. So I did something a little different in this one. So we were talking about the uncommons that you needed. So after playing at the tournament, the Winter Wolves there in February, I did all right, but I kind of decided that I think maybe 2 levy isn't really the way to go necessarily. I mean, sometimes they were useful. The problem is they activate with the uncommons, and there's no other ways to do it. Some boards might have something else, and then those 3 abilities, Frig, the rerolls, and then the extra damage on 6s. I don't have the battle board in front of me. All those are uncommons. So, and you really, I think so when I was playing, I wouldn't use the 6s because that one's too random. What if I don't roll a 6? Then I did it for nothing. But I really think to be really hitty, like you need to use that ability and just trust that you're going to roll some 6s. So, and what I've done is, so in this game, I tried it out. Now, I didn't look at this scenario, but actually having a large unit of warriors is like very beneficial for this scenario because you gain lots of points. So that worked out in my favor. But so I drop a levy unit. I would still have 1 levy to get out there, do my shenanigans, and then I would have a unit. I would have more warriors. So before I had 4 units of 6 warriors, and then with this setup, I would have 4 units of 5 warriors. So really not a big difference there. The one ability gives you 5 extra attacks. So that's mainly what I use. So, I'm still doing well there. And then I have a unit of 12 warriors because that's another scary unit. So if you have that 8 Hearthguard, I could go in with the Berserkers with everything, and the Berserkers get eliminated. But I could also go in with the 12 warriors and also throw in everything and have a buttload of attacks. And that's also a very scary unit for the enemy to see it lined up against. I could sacrifice 3 guys. So I'd have 21 attacks. I could do Uller on top of it. I could get them up to the mid-20s with all those abilities. So that was the idea with that, so, and then the good thing is you could go against those 8 Hearthguard, and then if he closes ranks, you're still going to have like a decent unit left probably after Saga. He'll kill 3 or 4. You'll still have maybe 5 or 6 guys, so you're not actually losing it all. And then it activates easier, and so like I said, the way that I played before was I was always using the uncommons to move guys around and not necessarily leaving things up. But so those abilities work on attack or defense. That doesn't matter. So my first priority then is just loading up those uncommons, having them there always. And then if I can get in, I'll get in. If not, I'll move up. If he fights me, I can still unleash all those abilities. So that's kind of my idea. So I do want to get in a few more games with the Vikings using that setup. I think it'll be better against more opponents in the long run. So what are your thoughts there, buddy?
I like it. I like the idea when you said 5. I like that that leverages Heimdall. So I see where you're going with that. And I had come at it a different way, thinking Valhalla is all about being in groups of 3. So maybe I have 6 warriors or 9 warriors. But that's interesting. I like this. Would you ever put a banner with your 12-man warrior unit? or no, or really? I mean, you're all about killing things, so.
Yeah, I don't think that I would. So the banner, if I'm correct, so at the start of my turn, if I have a fatigue, I'll regain it.
Yep.
And then the rally around the banner, that could be done like after fighting, right? Is that possible? Or is that in place of a rest?
Yeah, rally takes all your fatigue off. But you know what? I'm sorry, I'm switching gears. You have all these nice fatigue removing abilities. You have three. You have Frigg, you have Asgard, and you have Njord with your warlord. So really, a banner is less important for the Vikings than probably anyone.
Yeah. So when thinking about a banner, I guess I've always thought it in terms of shooting units, shooting multiple times, being safe, and shedding that fatigue on my turn quickly to just be able to shoot more. So I guess I haven't really thought about. I'll go back to the banner rules. I've never used one, so I know they exist, but I haven't run one myself.
Yeah, I don't normally, so. Interesting. I like the build. I think that's interesting. Yeah, you have two super punchy units, and you have your dice generating 5-man packs, which go to 10, and then leveraged with a few of these plays, your 10 hit, even above their weight.
Yeah, so I think in the end they'll hit harder than the 6-packs because I'll have, my goal is to use Uller and what's the ability that's the 6?
That's Thor.
Thor, yeah. So they'll just hit hard. So I've always shied away from it because it's too random. But I'm like, what I think playing against the Vikings, that ability always annoys me. So I really should be using it more against folks to annoy them. And then with the just having the one levy unit too, and then with this strategy, so to use that unit, you also need all of those abilities queued up, and before I would always use it to activate, so I just never could really use them the way that I thought on paper. So this is more of a slow roller, and then having a big unit for conquest. So this is an interesting match. So claiming territory in Saga, there just aren't a lot of units, like I said, that people can use to go move around and capture things. So any warband, I think, if you're going to be playing this, you might want to take a warband where you don't necessarily need 8 to 12 man units, because you're going to have to go out and chase after these objectives. But yeah, it's a fun one for sure.
Nice.
So,
well, I want to try it.
Yeah, I would definitely do so. So talking about games, so Monty, have you dived into the world of online tabletop gameplay as of yet?
Yeah, I have bought it. I haven't loaded. And then I was
so which one have you used? Because I think there might be 3 different ways you can do it.
Okay. So this is secondhand, because I haven't really had a chance to test this myself, but I kept hearing people talk about Tabletop Simulator.
Okay.
And I see the people that are using it, TTS, it's within Steam, and the people who are using it, I see they're like playing Bolt Action and they're playing Saga. And I jumped in, I bought it, I loaded it, and someone's like, make sure you grab the right packs. Like, once you pay for it, the people who love the games post up stuff that's free. That's the pieces that really make you be able to play Saga. So you got to buy you got to download and get it set up with the Age of Viking packet. And there were a number of packets floating around, and I couldn't quite sort out like which ones do I need this, do I need that. And so someone a couple days ago was kind enough to message me and say, grab this one by this person, it's everything you need. And shoot, I don't have it right at my fingertips, but I still need to go in and try it. That's the thing I'm going to do this week. This weekend I was kind of hustling some of my painting, but I need to keep altering. I need to get a little gaming in or something to scratch that itch. So I think that's something I'm going to do this next week. I'm going to give Tabletop Simulator a try. Okay,
cool. Yeah, I think that's the one that I'm going to give a shot. It's the prettiest one. So
yes, I think so.
I've seen other games played on it, in YouTube videos and whatever. So, it looks like a virtual tabletop. It looks cool. The other one is Universal Battle. So Hercus Monty has a little tutorial about that on how to play Saga on Universal Battle on his page. So I would check that out. I think that one's free, but I can't imagine the tabletop simulator was too pricey. And then there is a third one that I've heard of, but I can't think of the name of it, of another program that you can use to play things online in a tabletop. So cool. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot myself, monkey around. I've never been too interested in those things. Usually I play video games alone, away from other people. So it's just right. new ground for me, reaching out. But hopefully we can give it a shot and then probably talk about it next time. Because that's probably, I don't know how, can you get your wife in on a game here? You know, is she going to step up for you?
No, I have asked, trust me. I'm doing good if I know, thanks. I was like, can I teach the cat? No, that's not an option either. She just knocks things over. She will roll one die, but that's about all I can get her to do. So I gotta come up with something. I'm working it. If my son came back, if he comes back over the summer, I do think I could get him to try it. But without that, it's going to have to be tabletop simulator.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll give it a shot. Let us know how it goes. Anybody who's done that, please comment below. We could probably get a little group of people going on the Discord server. That might be a good way to organize games, perhaps. Okay, so enough game chat. Let's talk a little bit. So I did post onto the rodgerules website. I've got Old Feud Challenger cards up. So I gave Monty his own customized set in the flesh.
That's right. Yes.
They're not really customized, but I printed you out a copy just in case you wanted to use it. So I do recommend going to the website and downloading those. Basically, it's just 6 cards that have each one of their stats on here. So it's nice because it has the fact versions. So at least 3 of these are different than what's written down in the book. So it can be hard to decide which one you're going to use. Now we've kind of talked about these heroes at least 2 or 3 times. I don't think we really need to dig in too deep. I guess my thoughts on this scenario are, I think it's really come down to having a plan and making sure your terrain is set up. You have like a little fortress for your guy to sit in that straddles both your deployment zone and the within the scoring area, within 12 inches away from any table edge. So I think that's kind of the key to the strategy of this scenario, wouldn't you say, is being able to keep your guy safe by having a piece of terrain conveniently in place?
Agree. And when I'm playing someone who's going to be player 1, and I'm pretty sure my buddy is going to take soldier, he's pretty tough. My opening move, he's player 1, so he's going to get the first grab. Well, I was going to say, I guess I'm still figuring it out. If I'm first player, I sometimes like to put a giant 11-inch, round hill in the middle to just help squeeze, push back any opportunity from the build a little castle.
Yes, very good. Yeah.
Especially if I'm a warband that wants to hunt and kill. Yeah. But I'm still figuring it out. Like you said, you got to have a plan. Sometimes you grab one of these figures, then you go to use it. You're like, that doesn't work quite the way that I planned it. So it's fun just to kind of try different options.
So I think the key to this one is definitely the terrain placement. So as always, having the big blocking hill, messing things up for the opponent is always handy. That's a big real estate, so it really forces them. It's kind of hard to stop them really having a piece of terrain, though, depending on the order, because generally you can get 2 down, and if they move 1, you still got the other, you get a chance to put another one down. So really with your kind of unit selection, I think if you actually want to go in and try to kill this guy, You got to have foot troops because you're going to be going into terrain if you want to go after them.
Agree.
But otherwise, shooters, depending on which one you're shooting at here, it wouldn't be too bad taking your pot shots, perhaps. So let's reiterate again. I guess our favorite is the brute. Is that, I think, between us? Is there any situation you wouldn't take the brute first?
I think the soldier is probably the safest pick. If I'm going to take the brute, I think you kind of have to use him, right? I mean, I've picked the brute, and then it's turn 5, and I haven't even put him in the front line. I'm like, okay, my idea was he was going to be a wrecking ball, but then you're nervous about putting him in the front line. But then what he's good at is wrecking things. So why is he sitting till turn 5? So soldier's safest. Brute is amazing and fun. I do also like counselor, even though he's weak, and you're going to have to really be careful. I love the we obey, and I love the saga die. That is such a big help, especially since you're just knocking the snot out of each other. And then he keeps sneaking. He gives you that we obey, so someone can rest, and he's throwing out that saga die, and that sometimes can be decisive as you're reducing each other down to like just a handful of figures.
Correct. So the counselor is nice because we'll have to see. A lot of games your opponent's not even really making a move on him. So in that situation, it comes down to victory points. So having the extra saga dice, having the extra we obey, just really gives you the advantage in the straight up fight. So he's good. I would like, I guess, the brute, the counselor, the soldier. I think those 3 are good because they're not dice thieves, which I'm contrasting. The traitor, the princess, the mystic, those are dice thieves. They may be okay, but they're gonna steal dice from you. So I don't like them for that reason. Even the traitor, he's got a cool ability, but he doesn't have determination. He's not getting a saga dice. He doesn't have that extra we obey or anything. So you're gonna have to use dice from your boys, to power this guy up. The inflicting a fatigue thing is kind of cool, but it's costing you a saga dice to do that. It may or may not be worth it. I mean, between the three dice thieves, I would say I like him the best because he has armor 5. He can close ranks. The princess, don't like her because you think bodyguard's okay, but she doesn't have resilience. So every single hit that goes through needs to be saved. It's kind of misleading. You would just, if you didn't look at it too closely, you would just assume that she had it, but she doesn't. So,
nope.
I mean, with being armor 3, unarmed, so I believe that stops you from closing ranks. So, correct. I mean, you could just, just one hit goes through, you're done. So someone could go in, do like 10 hits or something, and you're like, well, I'll just let her die because I'm not going to... Not even like I probably don't want to sacrifice 10 levy really even to bring her up. I mean, that's the one thing is you can use levy to save those hits. And then the mystic, like we talked about before, he just hurts you. He's the king of the dice thieves.
Yep.
The resilience too gets so many people psyched up, and I guess if you just roll good, you can do okay. But we gotta stay away from him. But it came down to the soldier, the brute, and the counselor for me. The soldier I like, he's armor 6. So depending, armor 6 against shooting, I should say. So depending against your opponent, that might be the call. Now he does have that one weakness where he can't move away if he could charge an enemy.
Right.
But, I mean, usually your guy's going to be surrounded by units, anyways. So even if they come in, get him or whatever, you can just move one of your units to block him and then just move him away anyway. So that's easily solved generally. Because even just having one guy, you just move in front of him, so he can't declare a charge, so he can move away safely. So he could be good. He's decent. I guess between those two, if you are running Hearthguard, and they both those guys have bodyguards, so that can make a big difference too. Yep. So if you're not running any bodyguards, then I think the Brood is looking a little better because you're not going to be able to take any hits anyways. So that's cool. I think that's good. Do you have anything else to say about it? I mean, we've talked about him a few times, but I thought we should give it the proper scenario review since I had those cards up, and we can probably try to make it a point to try to get through some more of these. We did the tail challenges, so Old Feud. Maybe we can give our tips and tricks for the other ones.
I like that. I like that.
Okay,
I think you got all of them, Rodge. I mean, the only thing I'd say is I have never seen anyone pick the princess, and I don't think it's just because of the name. Like you said, it's just it's pretty tough. Well, the person can target the princess and obliterate your army simply by putting hits on her. Mm-hmm.
I did play against Zach when he was using the princess, and I was using the mystic because I just wanted to see how bad he really was, which he was. And the way it worked out, I never got close. There's a couple times I could have did a double move and get in there, but it just didn't come in. But yeah.
Okay.
You would rather have any of the other ones, basically, in any other situation.
Right.
Okay, so you got to choose the mystic or the princess. Those are your two options. You got like a trash Old Feud scenario. You could do that at a tournament, Monty.
Yeah, you could.
We're playing Old Feud. Your options are princess and the mystic. That's what everybody has to choose. Which one?
I think I might pick the mystic simply because I don't know. I really hate having no resilience and all the hits flowing through. I better keep that princess hidden well. And if I'm feeling lucky, like just keep the fatigue off the mystic. Don't roll 1s and 2s, and you could boost up your saga dice. So I think if you narrow it to that, I think I'd still pick the mystic. Okay. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think I would, assuming I'm playing my Vikings, I would use the princess, and then that levy unit would just be, I'd split them into 2 units of 6, and they would just be babysitter duty. So they would just generate saga dice for me for that game and hang out in the woods. And,
good call.
So that would be my plan if some TO was cruel enough to force such a decision upon us. So I do have one last thing. So on the website I have blank hero cards. So I think for next time I want to encourage folks to submit their own made-up heroes, because this obviously isn't enough options. I want Monty. I'm going to give you a little homework. I want you to create the Rodge Challenger, and I will create the Monty.
Okay.
And then I'll
create the Rodge.
If there's any other good ones, I'll put those on the site, and we can make those. I think those would be official. Options.
Definitely
for people.
By the time the summer FAQ comes out.
Yeah. So that'll give you a chance to come up with some kind of little fun mechanic, to make them interesting. So, I'll get to see what you really think of me. What kind of my internal character, how that is portrayed on the battlefield. So that'll be fun. I'll encourage other folks. I mean, you can come up with whatever. If you want to also come up with Roger Montes, that's fun too. I think that'd be fun. We do have a paint contest. So
nice.
It is upon the theme of challengers and heroes. So I'm holding up little baggies. So in each of these, I have a Brother Vinni's Viking Warlord model. So there's 2 of them with axes. And so there's 2 different ones on their website. I'll have a pretty picture below showing these guys off. So I'm using the Brother Vinni Spear Maidens, Axe Maidens, Sword Maiden models, which are very cool. I asked them if he wanted to offer anything to the viewers for a contest, and so he sent these heroes over. So we got to thank Brother Vinni. I don't know if his name is actually Vinny, if that's a character. I don't know. We can thank Vinny for helping us out here. So these aren't a full unit, so I've been asking people to do full units, and your prize was a unit. So since it's just a hero, I think we should scale back the requirements for this one. So we can, all you need to do is paint a hero model. I will also accept a challenger model because I think it's fun to, if you were using a princess, to have an actual princess model. Don't you think, Monty?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Seriously. Nice color.
And
nice
I think
theme.
Everything being even, so we've talked about mounted before. I think everything being even, I think we should favor a challenger model, don't you think? Since they won't be able to use that as much, maybe, so this will entice you to get outside your comfort zone.
I like it.
So does that sound cool to you, buddy? So we are. You got to take a before picture. So Monty, we got to do the drill here. So you're going to look to your down and to the right. And
down
you're going to look
right.
disgusted, and I'm going to look down and to my left, and I'm going to be like, ugh. So we're looking at the unfinished model. So, all right, you'll take a photo of your model in front of us doing those weird faces. And then when you're done, you'll take another photo of us going like this, like, yeah, you did it. And
Good
then,
job.
You can also submit 4 other photos of your beautiful model because lighting in front of computer monitors isn't the best generally, so I will acknowledge that. But that way it keeps us all on an even playing field. So the deadline, so we are a week behind on this one due to everything. So the deadline is going to be the 11th of May. So I think we'll basically... Yeah, push the episode back a week. So it should come out on the 7th. So we'll come out on the 14th instead. And actually, no, we'll make the deadline the 9th because we might have to record this on a Sunday again.
Oh, right.
So the deadline will be May 9th to get your model in. So looking forward to all those entries. Thanks to Brother Vinni's once again. These are great fakes. The resin and stuff, it's good quality, no issues from the gals that I put together, the mold lines, no issues. Like the material, it's not janky or anything. It's got a nice neutral smell, no sewer water or anything like that involved in this process. So, okay, well, I think that about does it here, don't you think, Monty?
Nice. Yes, I think we're there.
So yeah, we're here. We're doing our thing. I might not be posting as many painted pics, but I'm here. If people want to comment below, so a couple things to comment about. If you played online, let us know how it went, what you're using, what your username is. Maybe go to the Discord, post your stuff there. Let us know which hero is your favorite for Old Feud. And let us know how your painting's going in the situation. Any tips or tricks for staying sane? I could definitely use those myself. Yeah, it's like we get through the end of the day, the work day, and you're like, whew, we did it. And then we're like, well, just 3.5 more hours to go. And then the little tyke's down. And, then we could kick back. So it's been some long days. But just thankful that we can work from home. Not a lot of people have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Some people are laid off, or some people have to go in. Maybe you're a service worker and are exposed to this thing. So thank you if you are doing that. I know we don't really have it that bad at all. So hopefully everyone can stay safe out there. Get your hobby in what you can. If you can't, you got to do what you got to do to stay sane during these times. So I think that'll do it for this time. Thanks again.
That's it.
Monty. We'll check you later. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Saga.